You and your brother both directly asked your dad not to marry Camilla.
Yes.
Why?
We didn't think it was necessary.
I even wanted Camilla to be happy. Maybe she'd be less dangerous if she was happy.
Mm-hmm.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
Prince William's way of handling Queen Camilla really shows us how he truly feels about her. Ever since Camilla came into the picture with Prince Charles, things have been pretty dramatic. There were even rumours that she might have been involved in Princess Diana's tragic accident, and a lot of folks thought she was trying to overshadow Diana. Plus, Camilla and Prince Harry have had their share of spats, with Harry calling her a bad apple and a family troublemaker. But wait, there's more! Camilla hasn't exactly been besties with Kate Middleton, who's pretty adored in the royal circles. So what's Queen Camilla going to do next? And how does Prince Charles fit into all of this? What's Prince William's take on how Camilla treats Kate, his wife? With all the scandals and crises that have shaken things up in government, the royal family hasn't been spared. Recently, Prince William made a move that put Queen Camilla back in the spotlight, and it's been a hot topic everywhere. This surprising choice has everyone buzzing about what it means for the monarchy's future. After years of speculation, William finally spoke up about Camilla. His decision has left people questioning what's next for the royal family. There's a lot of chatter about hidden conflicts, tangled family dynamics, and what William's latest move might mean for the future of the crown. To get into these new details, let's take a moment to remember how Queen Camilla and Prince William met, how they interacted at first, and how the royal family has changed over time. Camilla Rosemary Shand was born in London on July 17, 1947. She has since become Queen Camilla and is married to King Charles III. Camilla didn't come from an aristocratic family like many royal partners do. Major Bruce Shand was her father. He was an officer in the British Army and then worked as a wine dealer. There was plenty of good things in life for Camilla's family, but they weren't exactly wealthy. Her father, Major Bruce Shand, was an officer in the British Army who later worked as a wine trader. Her mother, Rosalind Cubitt, was Roland Cubitt, the 3rd Baron Asham's daughter. However, because they were from an upper-middle-class background, some people had doubts about Camilla's relationship with Prince Charles. This made things more difficult between her and Prince William as well. Camilla grew up in both the city and the country. She loved being outside and animals, especially horses, while she was living in the country. She went to a lot of different schools. In addition to Dumbrell School in Sussex and Queensgate School in South Kensington, she also continued her schooling in Switzerland and France. Many of Camilla's friends went on to college, but she chose to work as a secretary in London's West End instead. This way, she got real-world experience before going to college. Camilia's younger sister, Annabel Elliot, who was born in 1949, has always been an important part of her life. The outdoors was something the two sisters loved, and Annabel was always there for Camilla when she needed help. Their close relationship helped them a lot when Camilla was going through hard times and was being closely watched by the press. The public's view of Camilla became more confusing over time as her relationship with Prince Charles grew. This was partly because of her background and the nature of their relationship. It was even more difficult because Prince William and the rest of the royal family had to figure out how they felt about Camilla, especially since Princess Diana was still very much alive in everyone's thoughts. It was a big deal at this time that Camilla was close with her sister Annabel. Camilla had a lot of trouble in her life, but Annabel was always there for her. As Camilla went from a more private life to being a princess, her past, her love of the countryside, and her ability to handle public criticism all had a big impact on who she became. Being in a public relationship with Prince Charles was hard at times, but these traits helped her handle it. Prince William's latest choices show that the royal family is still having a hard time deciding how to feel about Camilla's role. Her life, which was full of both good things and bad things, still affects her place in the royal family today. Let's look at how Camilla became a member of the royal family and the surprise choice Prince William made about her. People have always been very interested in Camilla's connection with King Charles, which included some extramarital affairs. Camilla Shand and Prince Charles met for the first time at a polo match in 1970. Camilla that year was 23 years old. She made an impression by confidently talking about their shared past. She talked about how Charles's great-great-grandfather, Edward VII, had an affair with her great-grandmother, Alice Keppel. Charles was interested in this brave move and how quickly they seemed to connect. Soon they realized they had a lot in common. They both liked being outside, reading and laughing at silly things. But it wasn't the right time for a serious relationship. Charles was about to start his job in the Navy, and the royal family didn't think Camilla would be a good match because she wasn't from an aristocratic family and had been in several relationships before. She married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, while Prince Charles was away on duty in the Navy. This marriage fit in well with their friends, but it hurt Charles deeply on an emotional level. Even after Camilla got married, Charles stayed close with both Camilla and Andrew. He even became the godfather of their son Tom, who was born in 1974. During the 1970s, Camilla balanced her friendship with Charles with her family life with Andrew. Tom and Laura were their two kids, but everyone knew that both Camilla and Andrew were having affairs with other women. As the pressure on Charles to find a good bride grew, he started going out with Lady Diana Spencer in 1980. Camilla is said to have supported this relationship because she thought Diana was young and easy to influence, and she didn't want to hurt her friendship with Charles. Camilla was there when Charles and Diana got married in 1981. Even though Charles was married to Diana, he still had a strong emotional link with Camilla. It's thought that they started seeing each other again in the mid-1980s, but the exact date isn't known. Camilla had a hard time during this time because she had to keep her feelings for Charles secret while also taking care of her family. Things got even messier when Prince William was born in 1982 and Prince Harry was born in 1984. Camilla didn't want her relationship with Charles to have an effect on the young princes, so she stayed out of the public eye when they were young. There was more talk about Camilla's role as Charles and Diana's marriage broke down in the late 1980s and early 1990s, when Andrew Morton's book, Diana, Her True Story, came out in 1992. It brought the situation to a head because it talked freely about Charles's relationship with Camilla. The next year, there was an incident called Camilla Gate, when a private phone call between Charles and Camilla was made public. This led to a lot of bad press and general anger toward Camilla. She pretty much shut herself off from everyone because the media paid so much attention to her and often made her look like the one who broke up Charles and Diana's marriage. It was hard to think that Camilla would one day be praised as Queen Camilla, even though she was constantly being watched and criticized. This change in how people thought about the royal family happened over a long period of time, long after the story first caused a lot of trouble. Let's go over Camilla's first meeting with Prince Harry and how she became queen. During the rough time after Charles and Camilla's relationship became public, Camilla had few and often tense meetings with Prince William. William, who was old enough to understand how complicated things were, was torn between his duty to his mother, Princess Diana, and the fact that his father was still seeing Camilla. Both Charles and Diana's statements of cheating on their partners made the already tense family relationships even worse. Separate TV talks from Charles in 1994 and Diana in 1995 made things even more complicated because they made people dislike Camilla even more. The famous thing Diana said about her marriage having 3 people solidified Camilla's part as the bad guy in the royal saga. During these tough years, Camilla chose to keep quiet because she knew that anything she said or did could make things worse, especially with her relationship with Prince William. Camilla wanted to avoid making Prince William feel worse because she knew how hard it was for him as the son of an unhappy marriage. Because of this, William's acceptance of her as queen consort was a big surprise. Even after Charles and Diana's split was finalized in 1996, Camilla's situation stayed dangerous. She and Charles had to be careful, thinking about not only what other people would think, but also how William and his younger brother Harry felt. This fine balance set the stage for the complicated way the family would interact in the years to come. There was shock around the world when Princess Diana died on August 31st, 1997. The British royal family was greatly affected by her death. Camilla, who was well aware of how unpopular she was, stayed out of the public eye after the tragedy to show respect for the prince's grief and the country as a whole. During this time, Charles focused on helping his boys deal with their terrible loss. In the years after Diana's death, Charles and Camilla kept dating, but they didn't tell anyone about it because they knew how sensitive it was, especially when it came to William and Harry. William was only 15 years old and Harry was 12. They were both having a hard time dealing with the death of their mother and their father's relationship with Camilla. The slow and tricky process of officially introducing Camilla to his sons began for Charles. It wasn't easy to do this, especially since there was clear proof that Diana was right about there being a third person in her marriage to Charles. William, who was old enough to understand what was going on, had mixed feelings about Camilla because she was a big reason why his parents' relationship was having trouble. Charles was eager to get his sons to accept Camilla, even though there were problems. Charles said that Camilla had met both William and Harry in 1998, a year after Diana's death. The first talks were kept secret so that no one from the media could see them. Charles knew that bringing Camilla into the family would take time, so he planned casual get-togethers for William and Harry to spend time with her in a more casual setting in the hopes that this would help them get along better with her. As the year 2000 got closer, Charles and Camilla started going out together more often. They were seen leaving the Ritz Hotel in London in 1999 after going to the 50th birthday party for Camilla's sister Annabelle. This event was important because it was one of the first times people saw them together in public. However, it also showed how hard it is for Camilla to get accepted by the people. A lot of people were still sad about Princess Diana's death and weren't ready for another woman to take her place in the royal family. Even though Charles and Camilla were getting a lot of negative feedback and attention, they kept going and slowly started making more public appearances as a pair. In 2000, Queen Elizabeth II showed a big sign of acceptance for Camilla by going to a lunch where Camilla was. People saw this as a clear but subtle sign that they liked Charles and Camilla's relationship. It was an important step on their way to becoming accepted by the public. During this time, William's bond with Camilla stayed complicated. He had to balance his memories of his mother Diana and his love for her with his awareness of his dad's happiness as he got older. William kept a polite but somewhat distant friendship with Camilla. He knew how important she was to his dad, but he needed some time to think about how he felt about the past. In 2003, Camilla moved into Clarence House, which is Charles's home in London. Camilla was becoming a more permanent part of Charles's life with this move, which made their relationship more legal and long-lasting. It also meant that William and Harry would see Camilla more often when they went to see their dad, which added another layer to how their family was changing. Even though things were changing, Charles continued to carefully bring Camilla into the family, always keeping in mind the sensitive feelings of his boys in particular. On the way to acceptance, there were careful steps and attempts to make sure that both William and Harry were okay with the new family dynamics. As Charles and Camilla's relationship became more well-known, they had to find a way to be accepted while still honouring Diana's memory. They put in a lot of work to show that Camilla could be a good partner for Charles in public and in private. Adding Camilla to the royal family was hard, but it was the start of a new era in the monarchy's history. Camilla's slow acceptance of her role as queen consort showed how strong and complicated royal relationships can be. When Camilla married Charles in a civil wedding in 2004, she became a member of the royal family. Because their past was so complicated and Camilla was separated, this choice was a nod to that. After the wedding, both William and Harry went to the blessing, which showed the public that they were united. William was very important at the wedding because he read a prayer. Many people saw this as a sign that he agreed with his dad's marriage. Many people saw William's action as an indication of his growth and his readiness to start this new part of their family life. The wedding itself was the start of a new era for the British royal family. Because they wanted to honour Diana's memory, Camilla was given the title of Duchess of Cornwall instead of Princess of Wales. William saw the wedding as more than just a formal event. It was a clear recognition of Camilla's role in his father's life, which led to his own. While William was studying at the University of St Andrews, Charles and Camilla quickly got down to their royal tasks after the wedding. During this time, William made sure to stay out of the public eye while the news was all about his dad's new marriage. Between the death of Diana and the wedding of Charles and Camilla, there were a lot of big changes in the royal family, especially for William. It was a time of deep sadness, personal growth, and finally getting used to the way things worked in the new family. But later, when new, disturbing facts came to light, this feeling of acceptance would be put to the test. Before getting into those events, it's important to look at some of the problems that Queen Camilla had, since they might have affected how William felt about his stepmother in the end. People talked a lot about Camilla's title after she married Prince Charles in 2005. Camilla was not given the title Princess of Wales, which is tied to the late Princess Diana. Instead, she was given the title Duchess of Cornwall. This decision was made with a lot of thought to honour Diana's memory and take into account the public's strong feelings. Many people fell in love with Princess Diana while she was with the royal family, and she was still loved years after her sad death in 1997. Camilla chose not to use the title Princess of Wales on purpose to honour Diana's memory and show appreciation for how much people still love her. Understanding these complexities is important for looking at how William's relationship with Camilla has changed over time and how the royal family works as a whole. A lot of people still thought that Diana was the real Princess of Wales, while Camilla was often seen as a stranger who had messed up the future of the royal family. Camilla did the right thing by not using the term Princess of Wales. She wanted to honour Diana's memory and show respect for how much people still love her. This choice was also part of a plan to make Camilla feel more at ease in the royal family and boost her popularity with the British people. Camilla was still a controversial figure when she married Charles. She was often blamed for the breakup of Charles and Diana's marriage. Camilla could slowly get used to her new role without being directly compared to Diana by taking on the less important title of Duchess of Cornwall. This would have been harder for both her and the public to handle, but the problem with Camilla's title didn't end there. It was said that Camilla would be called Princess Consort instead of Queen Consort when Charles became king. The goal of this choice was to show respect for the people and set Camilla's role apart from those of previous Queen Consorts. Still, some people didn't like this plan. Constitutional experts said that Camilla would formally become Queen Consort when Charles became king, no matter what title was used. Some people thought that the term Princess Consort was an unnecessary addition to royal traditions because it had never been used before in British royal history. Over time, Camilla won over more and more people with her dedication to her royal tasks, her friendly personality, and her clear support for Prince Charles. Her appearance got a lot better, which led to new talks about her future title. At first, some people thought that the name Princess Consort might be changed. As Queen Elizabeth II's rule got closer to its end, these rumours grew. This made the question of Camilla's future role more important. Queen Elizabeth told Camilla that she really wanted to be known as Queen Consort when Charles became king, which came as a surprise right before her Platinum Jubilee in February 2022. With this news, the long-running argument about Camilla's title was over. It was clear that the Queen supported Camilla when she spoke out in favour of her, recognising her years of service to the royal family. It was also a big change from the choice that was made when Charles and Camilla got married the first time. This shows how people's views of Camilla have changed over the years. This change in Camilla's position and the growing acceptance of her probably made Prince William feel a lot of different things. As a young man, William had to find a way to make his father happy while also remembering his mother. He had to deal with his own feelings about his family's past, while also thinking about the future of the kingdom and his father's part in it. Prince William's relationship with Camilla kept changing as her place in the royal family grew. These changes were caused by both personal feelings and public expectations. At first, the choice to make Camilla the Duchess of Cornwall and then to plan for her to become Princess Consort might have made William feel better. With these names, he had time to slowly get used to having her in the family. That being said, when Queen Elizabeth II back at Camilla as the future Queen Consort, her situation became much clearer. This support probably helped William deal with how things were changing because it made clear what Camilla's constitutional role would be. William would have known that having a Princess Consort instead of a Queen Consort could cause problems, so what the Queen said might have made it easier for him to accept Camilla's new role. Other members of the royal family also didn't agree with Camilla. Camilla was not sure about her job as Queen Consort, according to Princess Anne, who is the Queen's daughter and Charles's sister. Angela Levin, a royal historian who wrote Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, a royal survivor, says that Anne and Camilla didn't get along at first. Anne's direct, no-nonsense attitude kept her away from Camilla, which made their meetings tense and awkward. Camilla had a hard time dealing with Anne's cold attitude. Aside from their personal differences, Anne also didn't think Camilla would ever be fully accepted as queen. Princess Diana's designer agreed with Anne and said she thought Camilla would never be fully accepted. And the friendship between Prince William and Queen Camilla has changed a lot over the years. It used to be awkward, but now they treat each other with more respect. But this relationship has had some problems, especially when it comes to how Camilla and Kate Middleton deal with each other. Kate's marriage to William in 2011 changed the royal family in many ways from the start. Camilla and Kate have been tense because they have been snubbing each other and having arguments. The problems at the root of William's relationship with Camilla have made it more complicated. William has tried to support his father's new marriage and keep a polite public image. But the problems between Camilla and Kate have made it harder for him to fully accept Camilla's new role in the family. The situation became clearer during King Charles's coronation, when the problems between Camilla and Kate were especially clear. Such a public event brought to light the ongoing problems in the royal family and made these problems known to everyone. Despite these problems, William has kept his attention on his royal tasks and his family duties. He has also been careful to avoid getting too emotional in his royal relationships. Camilla, Kate, and William's relationship is changing over time. This shows how complicated and emotional the modern royal family is, where private feelings and public roles often interact in complicated ways. The rumoured fight between Kate Middleton and Queen Camilla seems to have roots in both private and public relationships, starting with Camilla's initial doubts and what she saw as jealousy over Kate's fame. Some things that have happened and acts that have been taken by both women have made this tension worse. It was said that Kate and Camilla got into a bigger fight during King Charles' crowning on May 6th. Tom Bower, a royal historian, pointed out a moment of clear tension, Kate's break from royal protocol. As Charles and Camilla left Westminster Abbey, Kate didn't bow or curtsy to Camilla, which was different from the other people there who were being polite. Some saw this as an intentional snub, which shows that Kate and Camilla are still having problems with each other. Camilla's choice to ask Rose Hanbury, the Marchioness of Cholmondeley, to the coronation made things between them even more complicated. In 2019, there were reports that Hanbury was having an affair with Prince William, which put a lot of stress on his marriage to Kate. Having Hanbury at such a public event probably added to the tension, since it could have been seen as an insult or an attempt to stir up trouble after the reports. The bigger problems in the royal family are shown by these events, where private problems and public duties mix in tricky ways. Kate and Camilla's ongoing tension shows not only their own problems, but also the complicated web of relationships and past issues that affect how the royal family works. There is no doubt that the ongoing conflict between Kate Middleton and Queen Camilla has had major effects on the royal family. The anger, which is caused by perceived slights and personal grudges, has affected the family ties, including how Prince William talks to his stepmother. Reports of Camilla's jealousy and what were seen as attacks on Kate, along with the incident involving her call to Rose Hanbury, show that the two women have deep-seated problems. This conflict has not only hurt their relationship, but it has also changed the way the royal family works, which has affected William's role and choices. King Charles is said to have been moved to tears by William's unexpected choice about Camilla. This is a big change in how their family works. This choice shows how complicated royal relationships are and how personal grudges can affect how people act in public and in private. In terms of Annabel Elliott's job, it's important to note that she was hired as the chief designer for Charles's estates as a way to better handle and improve the royal properties. Annabel, Camilla's younger sister, used her skills to update and decorate large estates, as well as high-end rental cabins. This job had real-world effects on how royal properties were managed, and it also showed how the royal family's roles and links are very complicated. These events show how personal and public matters are delicately balanced in the royal family, and how choices and ties between individuals can have big impacts on how they work together. Prince William's choice not to hire Annabel Elliott again shows a bigger change in how the royal family runs its business, especially when it comes to hiring close family members. When William became Duke of Cornwall, things changed for Annabel. She had been well paid for her work on the Duchy's lands and had made a big difference. This choice seems to show that William wants to run the royal family in a more modern and open way. By not hiring Annabel again, William seems to be emphasizing a move away from traditional ways of doing things, which may have been affected by personal ties. This might be a part of a bigger plan to make things run more smoothly and make sure that the royal family's money and decisions are made based on merit and speed. William's choice is in line with what we know about his commitment to openness, such as his plan to pay income tax on the money he makes from the duchy. This is part of his efforts to bring royal practices up to date and in line with modern expectations. The fact that Annabelle was not kept, even though she was close with Camilla, shows how complicated things are in the royal family. That shows how personal relationships can affect work choices, which can have an effect on the family's public image and relationships within the family. Overall, this choice shows a move toward a more modern, open and streamlined way of running royal affairs, which is in line with Prince William's hopes for the future of the monarchy. Even though Annabelle Elliot is close to Queen Camilla, Prince William decided not to hire her again. This shows a big change in how the royal family runs its business. This action shows that William is serious about being professional and thinking ahead as he handles his duties as Duke of Cornwall and future king. There are bigger effects of this ruling that show how the British monarchy is changing. By staying away from Camilla's family, William seems to be putting more emphasis on merit-based appointments and a more modern way of doing royal tasks. William is clearly eager to create his own style of leadership, one that values honesty and efficiency, as this is different from what his father did.
You read in the newspapers, or you hear on them that, of course, there will have been, people would have been prepared for this.
What happens when two strong personalities clash? Recently, Princess Diana's dressmaker spoke up about rumours within the royal family. Allegedly, Princess Anne, who is known for being very direct and outspoken, has said some pretty nasty things to Camilla Parker. In today's video, we'll talk about what might have caused these outbursts. We are going to look into Princess Anne and Camilla's lives, their jobs in the royal family, and why they might not get along. Is this just another case of royal fuss, or is there more going on? Let's get to the bottom of it. There is Camilla Rosemary Shand on one side of the royal stage. She was born on July 17, 1947, at King's College Hospital in London. In her early years, she had a lot of charm and wealth. They spent time at both their 18th century country house in East Sussex, called The Lanes, and their home in London, called South Kensington. Major Bruce Shand was an officer in the British Army who later became a businessman. His wife, Rosalind Cubitt, was the daughter of the 3rd Baron Ashcombe. She also had a younger brother named Mark Shand and a younger sister named Annabelle Elliot. Camilla's great-grandmother, Alice Keppel, was a mistress of King Edward VII. This adds a bit of royal scandal to her family tree. Camilla was exposed to styles and people from high society from a very young age. Rosalind, her mother, did a lot of unpaid work for charity. She helped young disabled children at the Che Heritage Foundation. At the same time, her father, Bruce, worked as a partner with companies like Block Gray and Block, and later Ellis Son and Vidler. Camilla's childhood was not like most kids. Author Giles Brandreth said it had the charm of an Enid Blyton book, but with a more grand feel. The Shands were upper-class British people who lived a spoiled life with all the trappings. Camilla had a pretty perfect childhood. She grew up with pets, loved writing, and even won rosettes at local dog shows. She says that her childhood was perfect, full of safety and chances that most people could only dream of. Camilla started going to Dumbrells, a mixed-gender school in Ditchling, when she was 5 years old. She moved to Queensgate School in London when she was 10 years old and was called Miller there. Singer Twinkle was one of her peers and admired how strong and sure of herself she was. One of Camilla's teachers, the author Penelope Fitzgerald, described her as happy and bright. Camilla got off to a good start, but when she graduated from Queensgate in 1964, she only had one O-level. Her parents didn't push her to get more, so she didn't. She went to the Montfort Tertiary Finishing School in Switzerland when she was 16 years old. After that, she went to the University of London Institute in Paris to study French and French literature. Camilla made her debut as a debutante in London on March 25, 1965. This was a big event for young women of her social class and marked the beginning of a new life. After her first show, she lived in different flats in Kensington and Belgravia, living with friends and acquaintances from the British upper class. Camilla worked as a secretary and receptionist in the West End. She also did some time at Silkfax and John Fowler, a company that did designing. She was fired from this job, though, for showing up late because she had to go to a dance, which showed how daring she was as a young woman. Princess Anne is on the other side of the royal drama. She is known for being honest and devoted. The Queen and Prince Philip's only child, Princess Anne, was born on August 15, 1950. Anne was never just another royal child. She was very responsible as a princess. Her drive stood out at Benenden School, where she went. She loved horses and riding from a young age, and she wasn't just good at equine sports, she was great at them. Anne even took part in the Olympics in Montreal in 1976, which made her the first member of the British royal family to do so. Anne wasn't interested in being in the spotlight. She was dedicated to following her purpose. Anne has been a strong person all her life, working hard for many causes and charities. She likes to get things done and make a change, often behind the scenes. For example, she works on youth welfare projects and helps kids through Save the Children. Anne is all about action and making a difference, while some royals might like a more glamorous style. People have been interested in and worried about her personal life. In 1973, Anne married Captain Mark Phillips. Together, they had 2 children, Peter and Zara. In 1992, they got a divorce, but Anne kept her mind on her royal tasks and her children. She later married Sir Timothy Lawrence in a less public wedding, which showed that she liked to keep her personal life quiet. It's always been interesting to see how Anne interacts with her brother, Prince Charles. They are very close, but they disagree on how the royal family should grow. Charles is seen as more modern and open to change, while Anne sticks to traditional royal ideals and doesn't mess around. With someone like Camilla Parker Bowles, who has a complicated past with the royal family, this difference in point of view could easily lead to conflict. The first marriage of Camilla Parker Bowles is now time for us to learn more about her. Camelia Shand met Andrew Parker Bowles, who was a guards officer at the time in the late 1960s. Simon, Andrew's younger brother, worked for Camilla's dad's wine business and put them in touch. It was one of those classic stories where 2 people from different worlds meet and become friends. For several years, Camilla and Andrew's relationship went back and forth between being together and not being together. But by 1973, they were engaged, which showed how strong their relationship was. This news got a lot of attention in the media, but there's a fun twist. A royal historian named Sally Bedell Smith said that their parents pushed for the news to come out. It seems that their families were so excited about the wedding that they made the announcement before hearing from Camilla and Andrew fully. Royal theatre at its best, right? It was quite a show at the wedding itself. The wedding took place at the Guards Chapel in London on July 4th, 1973, and was Roman Catholic. Camilla and Andrew were married. She was 25 years old and he was 33 years old. Society Wedding of the Year was the name of the event, which had about 800 guests. That's a lot of people. Princess Anne, Princess Margaret, and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, were among the guests. What a lovely group of guests. The British fashion house Belleville Sassoon made Camilla's wedding dress, which made the event more glamorous. Camilla and Andrew got used to living in Wiltshire after the wedding. Camilla and Andrew made a stylish move to the country. They bought a house in Allington called Hyde Manor, and then later bought Middlewick House in Coram to add to their collection. Moving to the country was a big deal because it was the start of their family life there. Tony was born in December 1974, and Tom was born in January 1978. Life for the family was shaped by where they lived and how they lived. Andrew wanted to raise the kids as Catholics, but Camilla chose to stay Anglican. Even though they were raised in a Catholic family, it's interesting to see how their kids' schools and personal lives showed a mix of influences. Laura went to a Catholic school for girls, but got married in an Anglican church. Tom, on the other hand, chose to go to Eton over the Catholic Ampleforth College. Their upbringing was a mix of family customs and their own choices. Even though they lived in a cute small town, the marriage had its own problems. Camilla and Andrew broke up in 1994 after being together for 21 years. They didn't make the choice on the spot. They had been living apart for years before they officially broke up. Rosalind, Camilla's mother, died in July 1994, which added to the mental stress and made a tough time even tougher. When they got divorced in March 1995, it was the end of a big part of their lives for both of them. He quickly moved on and in 1996 married Rosemary Pittman. Rosemary was a part of Andrew's life until she died in 2010. The end of Camilla's first marriage was a big turning point in her life. It set the stage for her future and her relationship with Charles, who was Andrew's close friend. To fully understand Camilla's royal journey, you need to know about her life before and after her first marriage. Through these ups and downs, she learned how to act in the royal family and how to get along with other royals, like Princess Anne. These events give their connection and the way they interact with each other more depth. Now, let's talk about Princess Anne. Her first marriage was to Mark Phillips. Anne and Mark met at a party for horse lovers in 1968. Mark was a lieutenant in the Queen's Dragoon Guards. They met because they both loved horses. By 1973, their relationship was serious enough that they got engaged, which they told everyone about on May 29, 1973. One of the most watched royal weddings ever, their wedding at Westminster Abbey on November 14, 1973, was a big deal. It was shown live on TV and seen by about 100 million people. After getting married, Anne and Mark moved into their country home, Gatcombe Park. Mark turned down an offer of an earldom, which is common for unmarried men who marry into the royal family. This is an interesting fact. Because of this choice, their children Peter, born 1977, and Zara, born 1981, did not get any official titles. Even so, the family grew and now has 5 grandkids, which makes family gatherings very fun. But things weren't always easy for Anne and Mark. It was clear that their marriage was having some problems by August 1989. There was less and less of Anne and Mark Phillips together, which made it clear that they were growing apart. There were rumors of sexual relationships, which made things worse. At first, they said they weren't going to get a divorce, but by April 13, 1992, the palace revealed that Anne had filed for divorce. After only 10 days, it was official. Anne and Mark stayed active with their kids, Peter and Zara, even after they got divorced. They was a co-parent to them. Even though it was hard, they both stayed committed to helping their kids get through it. This part of Anne's life gives us more information about her connection with Camilla Parker Bowles. The personal histories and family relationships of both women affect how they interact with each other and their jobs in the royal family. Knowing these specifics helps us see the bigger picture and how complicated their connections are. For Camilla Shan's second serious romance, she is said to have met Prince Charles in the middle of 1971. That's when Andrew Parker Bowles, who had been a big part of Camilla's life, broke up with her and began dating Princess Anne. Camilla and Charles were in some of the same social circles and went to some of the same events, but they didn't meet officially until much later. Many people think that Charles and Camilla met at a polo match, but author Giles Brandreth says that they were actually introduced at the home of Lucia Santa Cruz, a friend they both had. This meeting led to a close friendship that quickly turned into a love relationship. The relationship between Camilla Shand and Prince Charles was a big deal in their social groups. At polo matches, at Smith's Lawn in Windsor Great Park, where Charles often played, they were often seen together. They also went to Annabelle's in Berkeley Square, which is a popular place to hang out. They became closer, and Charles showed Camilla his family. Camilla then took him to meet her family in Plumpton. But things got hard in their relationship when Charles had to go away for work with the Royal Navy in early 1973. When he got back, their relationship ended quickly. People have different ideas about why they broke up. In his book, Royal, Robert Lacey says that Charles and Camilla may have engaged too soon, and that Charles did not ask Camilla to wait for him, which caused them to break up. Sarah Bradford says in her book Diana that Charles's great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, may have set up Charles's job abroad so that he could get engaged to his granddaughter, Amanda Knatchbull. Some people also think that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, didn't like Camilla and would rather Charles marry one of the sisters of the Spencer family, who were close to her friend, Lady Fermoy. There is also the idea that Camilla might have wanted to marry Andrew Parker Bowles instead, since he had been an important part of her life since the late 1960s. Charles may have also chosen to wait to get married until he was 30. Most people who write about the royal family think that getting married to Camilla Shand at that time would have been very hard. Some palace officials didn't think Camilla would be a good choice for Charles's wife. After all these years, Charles's cousin and grandmother, Patricia Knatchbull, said in 2005 that it was clear that Charles and Camilla were a good match. That being said, Patricia Knatchbull made it clear that they couldn't marry Camilla back then. There were so many rules and demands on the heir to the throne that it was not possible for them to get married at that time. Even with these problems, Charles and Camilla stayed friends over the years. Lord Mountbatten, Charles's beloved great-uncle, was killed by the Provisional Irish Republican Army in 1979, a sad event that made their relationship even stronger. At the time of Mountbatten's death, Charles was very upset and turned to Camilla for support. There were rumors going around in their close friends' groups and the Polo Society that they were dating again. By 1980, it was clear that Charles and Camilla were back together in a close relationship. The affair was kept secret from the public, but close friends and people Camilla hangs out with knew about it. It's interesting that Camilla's husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, was said to know about and even accept the affair. This wasn't too surprising, since Parker Bowles had his own affairs while they were married. Even though he was having an affair, Charles married Lady Diana Spencer in 1981. The people in the media mostly didn't know that Charles and Camilla were still dating until the 1990s. The affair became well known after the book Diana. Her true story came out in 1992. It revealed many private parts of Diana's life and made the affair public. In 1993, the Camillagate or Tampongate story got even worse when a secretly recorded phone call between Charles and Camilla was made public. It showed how private and honest their conversations were. The transcripts of Charles and Camilla's private phone call were all over the press, which caused a huge scandal and hurt Charles's reputation in the public eye. There was a lot of negative coverage of Charles and Camilla in the news, with Camilla getting a lot of harsh abuse. Because of all the fuss and media attention, Charles chose to talk about his relationship with Camilla in an interview with Jonathan Dimbleby for the book Charles, the Private Man, The Public Role in 1994. Charles told the interviewer that Camilla was a great friend who had been in his life for a long time and would stay there. Once again, he stated that they were in love after his marriage to Diana ended in 1986. It was an honest admission that shed some light on Charles and Camilla's complicated and long-lasting relationship. It also showed how their personal problems and connections affected their lives. Let's move on to Princess Anne's second marriage to Sir Timothy Lawrence, which is also an important part of her life. Tim Lawrence met Anne in 1986 while he was working on the royal yacht Britannia. At the time, Lawrence was a captain in the Royal Navy and an equerry to the Queen. This meant that he often ran into Anne. Their relationship grew over time, and by early 1989, it was getting a lot of attention. The public learned about their connection when some of their private letters were published in The Sun. Even though the news was all over it, Anne and Timothy's bond got stronger. During their engagement, they didn't make a lot of noise. On December 12, 1992, they got married in a small wedding at Crathie Kirk, which is near Balmoral Castle in Scotland. The wedding was small and private, with only about 30 guests, because the pair wanted to be alone. The Church of England had stronger rules about divorce and remarriage. The Church of Scotland, on the other hand, let divorced people remarry. This made Crathie Kirk a good place for their ceremony. Anne made history when she got married again after being divorced. The last princess to do this was Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Anne chose a simple but beautiful outfit for her wedding to Timothy Lawrence. She wore a white jacket over a knee-length dress and a small bunch of white flowers in her hair. Her engagement ring was very special. It had a cabochon ruby in the middle and 3 small diamonds on each side. When the wedding was over, Anne and Timothy's guests went to Crathie Lodge for a private party. Timothy Lawrence didn't get a title like some royal couples do, and he stayed out of the public eye to focus on his work and personal life. As for Charles and Camilla, their relationship was closely watched by the public and the media after they got divorced. Charles hired Mark Bolland, a well-known public relations expert who had worked with him before, to raise Camilla's status in order to improve their public image. In July 1997, they had a little trouble when they were in a car accident. The accident didn't hurt anyone badly, but it did get more media attention to have a good public relations plan. Camilla began going out in public with Charles more often, but it wasn't until 1999 that they went out together for the first time. It was at the Ritz London Hotel and got a lot of attention from the media. At the start of the 2000s, Camilla took on more official tasks. In 2001, she became president of the Royal Osteoporosis Society. People saw her in a better light after this, which changed how people thought about her. Camilla met Queen Elizabeth II for the first time after their relationship became public. It was at a party in 2000 for the former Greek king Constantine II's 60th birthday. People saw this as a sign of approval from the Queen, showing that Camilla was becoming more welcome in royal society. In 2002, she was in the royal box at Buckingham Palace for the Golden Jubilee celebrations, which helped to solidify her place even more. Charles made sure Camilla was safe by hiring full-time security for her, even though she kept living at Raymill House, the house she bought in 1995. She also spent some time at Clarence House, which is Charles's official home. As Charles and Camilla's romance became more well-known, they were often seen together at official events. One such trip was to the Highland Games in Scotland, which made a big splash. Fans of Charles's late ex-wife, Princess Diana, were very against Camilla, even though they were becoming more well-known. A lot of people didn't like it when Charles and Camilla announced they were getting married in 2005. A huge number of letters were sent to the national media by people who supported Diana, the famous Camilla-gate or Tampon-gate scandal, in which a tape of Charles and Camilla's private talk was leaked and hurt their public image even more, made things worse. When Charles asked Camilla to marry him, he gave her a diamond ring that was said to have belonged to his grandmother. This ring was both a personal promise and a nod to custom. Some people were against them getting married, mostly because they didn't want Charles to marry a divorced woman when he became Supreme Governor of the Church of England. But in the end, the Queen, the government, and the Church of England all agreed to it. The couple's wedding was supposed to happen on April 8, 2005, but it had to be moved because Windsor Castle had trouble getting the right licenses. It was held at Windsor Guildhall on April 9, 2005, instead. The wedding was smaller and more personal, with close family and friends in attendance, such as Camilla's son Tom and Prince William, Charles's son. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh went to a blessing service at St. George's Chapel and then held a party. The Philharmonia Orchestra and the St. George's Chapel Choir performed at the party. After getting married, Charles and Camilla spent their vacation at Charles's country home. They then started doing public things together. Camilla's public picture got a lot better over time. The Independent named her the most influential woman of the year in 2023, and they did it again. This change shows how well their attempts to improve their image worked and how slowly Camilla became accepted by the royal family and the public. Camilla finally became the Duchess of Cornwall after she married Charles. This was a big step up in her royal rank. Camilla was the second most important woman in the British order of precedence after Queen Elizabeth II. In places where Charles had titles, like Scotland and Wales, she usually came in 5th or 6th. The Queen did a few important things to mark her new role. Camilla is now 4th in the royal order of precedence. This was changed so that it would be more appropriate for private events. This change showed how important Camilla is becoming in the royal family. Camilla also got things that made her new job clear. The Queen Mother used to own the Greville tiara, and the badge of the Royal Family Order of Elizabeth II was one of them. These tokens not only made her more well-known, but they also showed that she was accepted and respected in the royal group. Charles and Camilla moved into Clarence House as their main home after they got married. They also liked staying at Birkhall, their home in Scotland, for vacations and important events, and at Highgrove House in Gloucestershire for family get-togethers. In 2008, they added a second home in Wales. It is where they stay when they go to Wales every year and for other events. Camilla still owns Ray Mill House, which she bought in 1995. Even though she has these new homes, it gives her a private place to spend time with her children and grandkids. She has had a lot of health and public problems over the years. While she is said to have smoked in the past, she is said to have quit years ago. It was announced in March 2007 that Camilla had a hysterectomy, but no other information was given. She broke her left leg while walking in Scotland in April 2010. In November of that same year, she and Charles were involved in a public incident when student protesters struck their car during a time of widespread unrest. Camilla and Charles were lucky that they were not hurt, but the event showed how hard it was. They were also involved in the phone hacking incident in the early 2010s, and it was said that shady media practices used their private information. Even with these failures, Camilla's importance and fame kept growing. It was their 7th wedding anniversary, on April 9, 2012, and the Queen made Camilla a member of the Royal Victorian Order. In 2015, Charles even named a bar in Poundbury Village after her. It opened in 2016 as the Duchess of Cornwall Inn. On June 9, 2016, Camilla was brought into the British Privy Council. On January 1, 2022, she was made a Royal Lady of the Most Noble Order of the Garter. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Camilla tested positive for the virus on February 14, 2022, not long after Charles did too. This made her decide to stay away from other people. In February 2021, they both got their first shots of the COVID-19 vaccine. Camilla attended an amazing 3,086 events between 2005 and 2022, showing how dedicated she is to her royal tasks. Her rise from being a controversial figure to a respected member of the royal family shows how hard she worked to fix her public image and how dedicated she is to her job. When Camilla Parker Bowles' husband, Charles III, became king after Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022, she became known as Queen Consort. She had a very different role in the royal family. 2 days later, on September 10th, Camilla was a part of the Accession Council, which is where Charles was officially made king. The fact that she was there with her stepson William made her new place and importance in the royal family stand out. Camilla made a big change from the norm by replacing the traditional lady-in-waiting job with Queen's Companion. This new job was meant to be less formal and more occasional. Its main purpose was to help the Queen Consort with official events without having to do day-to-day planning or writing letters. This change showed a more modern way of doing royal tasks, which matched Camilla's wish for a less rigid and more adaptable role. Buckingham Palace said on February 13, 2023, that Camilla had tested positive for COVID-19. This meant that she couldn't go to a number of public events. This health setback was a reminder of how hard things can be, even when you're doing your royal tasks. Camilla and Charles were formally crowned on May 6, 2023, at Westminster Abbey in London. This historic event marked a big step in her new life as Queen Consort and showed what her new duties and standing were. After the crowning, on June 16, 2023, Buckingham Palace announced that Charles had made Camilla a member of the Order of the Thistle. This made her even more respected in the British honour system. Camilla went with Charles to St. Giles's Cathedral on July 5, 2023, for a national service of praise. There, he was given the honours of Scotland. In a big change from Prince Philip's time as king, Camilla would not get a parliamentary pension. Instead, the sovereign grant would pay for her public duties and activities. This is part of a more organised way of handling royal money. During 2023 and early 2024, Camilla and Charles made a number of state trips and hosted important foreign guests. In March 2023, they went on a state visit to Germany. It was Charles's first trip outside of Britain as king. There have been problems in Camilla and Princess Anne's relationship because they have different ideas about what royal tasks and values should be. Even though Anne and Camilla have known each other for a long time, she has often been critical of her, especially when it comes to whether she is qualified to be Queen Consort. This stress was more noticeable when the royal family was under a lot of stress, like during the current staff shortage crisis. Camilla's choice to take a break to get some much-needed rest after a busy schedule that included helping King Charles deal with his cancer diagnosis caused a lot of debate. Some people didn't like when she got a break, especially since the royal family had a lot of important things to do at the time. During this time, Anne who is known for her unwavering commitment and high standards, had been stepping up a lot. She showed how dedicated she was by going on 9 royal events. Anne's hard work and dedication stood in comparison to Camilla's break, which made things worse between them. This situation showed how hard it is to balance personal well-being with public tasks in the royal sphere, where every choice can be closely watched and have an effect on how the family and the public see the person. Camilla Parker Bowles and Princess Anne's connection is very complicated. It's shaped by both their personal lives and the royal family as a whole. Camilla's choice to take a vacation during a very difficult time for the royal family showed how much she and Anne don't get along. Because Anne was very traditional and had high standards, she thought Camilla's break was not a good idea because she had a lot of public and royal duties at the time. Anne, who had been working hard to do her own things, thought Camilla's vacation was more of a treat than something she had to do. Anne and Camilla's disagreements also have roots in the past, especially in the people they know and ties they had in the past. Both women liked the same things, especially horseback riding, and they even dated the same man, Andrew Parker Bowles. This shared past, along with the fact that Camilla and Charles met through mutual friends, made their relationship more complex. Camilla and Charles met at a polo match, which was a very posh way for them to meet. Camilla's brave first words, which were about a connection between their great-grandparents in the past, set the tone for a friendship that would grow into something much deeper and more complicated. This early meeting, which hinted at personal and historical ties, was a sign of how complicated and sometimes difficult their relations would become as they worked together in the royal family. Having historical and personal links as a background adds depth to the ongoing tensions and the bigger story of royal duties and relationships. Royal relationships are very complicated and often very dramatic, which makes for great stories. The complicated pasts of Camilla Parker Bowles, Princess Anne, and Andrew Parker Bowles make their public lives and relationships even more interesting. There's no question that Princess Anne's traditionalist views and her personal and historical ties to Andrew Parker Bowles affected her relationship with Camilla. These relationships are complicated because they show how hard it is to balance royal tasks, personal history, and public opinion. Some members of the royal family, including Anne, didn't like Camilla and Charles's wedding. This shows how personal histories and traditional ideals can affect how the royal family works together. Anne's desire for a more traditional approach to royal life and her past relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles made things difficult between her and Camilla. This look behind the palace walls shows that even within the royal family, rivalries and ties to the past play a big role, which makes their stories even more interesting. If you liked this look at the relationships between royal families and want to see more behind the scenes, please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting content.